Right now, on to the point. From housing to healthcare, the two candidates hoping to represent our region in Congress explain how they'd tackle California's biggest challenges. A proposed billion-dollar bond for Los Rios colleges is sparking debate, why some trustees are raising concerns.
It needs to be good for the right individual.
Changes coming to the state's mental health diversion program, the push to narrow down who's eligible for it. And he drove his family off a cliff. Now attempted murder charges are dropped. How the state's mental health program played a role in the decision. Control of Congress is on the line this November, and some of the biggest battles are happening right here in California. Good evening, as always. Thank you so much for joining us on To The Point. I'm Alex Bell. Tonight, we are taking a closer look at one of the state's more competitive races, California's 6th Congressional District. Now, this is one of the districts that was redrawn after voters approved Proposition 50. The district now spans portions of Sacramento, Placer, and Yolo counties. Democrat Dr. Richard Pan and Representative Kevin Kiley, who is now an independent, were the top two vote getters in the June primary. They will now face off in November. Pan previously served in the California Assembly and Senate and is a pediatrician. Kiley currently represents Congressional District 3 and won that seat as a Republican after the passage of Prop 50. Now, he left the Republican Party, as I just mentioned, and became an independent, so some changes there. But from healthcare to election security, both Pan and Kiley are giving us their take on the latest issues pressing Californians. ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen sat down with both of them today.
What is your take on President Trump delaying signing that Road to Housing Act?
It is quite a shame that the president is basically tying it to a partisan piece of legislation that is actually taking voting rights away as a way to try to leverage a piece of legislation that does not have the support to pass Congress. We are going to make it harder for people to vote, to basically, particularly for particular groups that have previously been disenfranchised, right?
Dr. Richard Pan was referring to the Save America Act, a voter ID law that President Trump is pushing Congress to pass before he signs the Road to Housing Act. That bill aims to bring down housing costs and build more housing nationwide.
I don't know what the delay is for, but as long as it gets signed or it becomes law, then we're in good shape. And I think it's a significant bipartisan accomplishment, which is all too rare in Washington, D.C. These days. I'm in favor of voter ID. I think it's common sense. I think the vast majority of Americans support it. It exists in pretty much every country that's a democracy in the world.
When it comes to health care, new federal data shows a large drop in enrollment in the Affordable Care Act coverage plans as premiums got more expensive this year. What's your take on the data, and how do you suggest people go about getting health insurance, especially since some people think it's too expensive?
Yeah, the cost of health insurance is an enormous burden for folks here in California and across the country. And frankly, a big piece of that is the partisanship in Washington that led to an increase in healthcare costs. I tried to stop this from happening. I introduced a bipartisan bill with Sam Liccardo from the Bay Area that we called the Fix-It Act. That would have extended these expiring subsidies.
Because of the lack of action in Congress, including by Kevin Kiley, we have middle-class families, many of them small business owners or independent contractors, people working for themselves, who are not able to afford health insurance anymore because they refused to extend tax credits that made it affordable.
With months left until the general election, Congressman Kevin Kiley is hoping Dr. Pan will participate in a series of debates.
Well, I think that he should show up and actually participate in the debate and let voters hear our records. I think this is a big district. It was just newly drawn. It has a number of different communities. It crosses 3 counties. And so I think at a minimum, we should have a series of 5 debates leading up to the election so voters can see for themselves.
In June, Pan's spokesperson told ABC 10, quote, Dr. Pan looks forward to debating MAGA champion Kevin Kiley. But when asked to clarify if he formally accepts the challenge.
So you know what I would say is that we're going to have an ongoing conversation, right? That's what's most important, that the voters know who they get to vote for and what each of us stand for, right? And I'm going to be sure that happens during this campaign and by Election Day.
In Sacramento, Jeannie Nguyen, ABC 10.
As far as a date for an upcoming debate, nothing has been set. All right, let's head out to Maine, where calls are growing for Senate nominee Graham Plattner to drop out of this race. The Democrat now saying that he is pausing his run for now, and it comes after 41-year-old Jenny Risicott claimed that she connected with Plattner on a dating app. In 2021, she says that he came to her house while drunk and he forced himself on her and raped her.
I don't believe that you can think that that scenario was consensual. You have to understand that that wasn't. When somebody is repeatedly, when somebody in the middle of it says, "Don't touch me," that's obviously not consensual.
In a video on social media, Plattner called the allegations, quote, categorically false. Now, many former Plattner supporters are calling on him to drop out of this race, including California Congressman Ro Khanna and Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren, who both campaign in Maine for him, as well as the group Planned Parenthood. Voters in Sacramento and Yolo counties might face a property tax question on the November ballot. The Los Rios Community College District is considering a bond measure, but only for part of the district. I do want to bring in ABC 10's Becca Habegger. She joins us to break all this down and how this could impact property taxes. Becca, I know you've been working hard on this story all day.
Yeah, and property taxes is the big question. Well, district staff say if trustees approve the bond measure for the November ballot, and then if voters pass it, they expect that at most it would only extend existing tax rates and not raise property taxes. That's because some debt obligations will be dropping off as they pursue this new bond, kind of evening it all out. But the measure is not without controversy. Los Rios Community College District is one of the state's largest public higher education systems, serving nearly 70,000 students in the greater Sacramento area. It has 4 community colleges serving portions of 5 counties: American River College, Sacramento City College, Cosumnes River College, and Folsom Lake College. In addition to those campuses, there are 6 satellite educational centers, plus a public safety training center. A study last year identified the need for more than $3 billion in facility repairs, upgrades, construction, and safety improvements. 10 of the 11 campuses of Los Rios Community College District are located in either Yolo or Sacramento County. So trustees voted at their April meeting to create what's called a School Facilities Improvement District, encompassing only Sacramento and Yolo counties and not the Solano, Placer, and El Dorado County portions of the district. That allows trustees to vote to put a bond measure on the ballot, taxing just the people living in that special district. At a meeting Wednesday night, board members will vote on a bond measure to raise $1.1 billion. If passed, it will then go to voters in that special taxing district on the November ballot. Trustee Robert Jones says he thinks a bond measure should be decided by the entire community college district and worries the special tax district was drawn to exclude more conservative El Dorado County voters who might oppose a property tax levy.
It is my hope that this matter can be revisited by the Board of Trustees to the end that the district voting base for this bond measure, should it be put on the ballot, is restored for the November ballot. And that would be an appropriate, fundamentally democratic thing to do.
Other board members declined interviews, but some provided statements. Trustee Tammy Nelson said, "I have been supportive of the School Facilities Improvement District because I believe it provides a fair and transparent way for voters in the affected communities to decide whether they want to invest in their local college facilities." Board President Deborah Ortiz said she strongly believes in the need for a bond measure, but both she and Nelson say they will wait to hear from staff, the public, and the board discussion Wednesday before officially arriving at a position. As for whether the special district was drawn to exclude some voters over others, a district spokesperson tells ABC 10, "Our board voted to create the district in April in order to provide a mechanism to ensure that voters who don't benefit from a tax measure, like those in El Dorado County, don't have to pay for facilities they are unlikely to ever utilize. Our district has a massive geographical footprint, spanning from Davis all the way to the west shore of Lake Tahoe. The special taxing district is a commonly used funding mechanism for districts in our region." Now, if 5 of the 7 trustees approve the bond measure tomorrow night, it will go on to the November ballot in that special taxing district, and then 55% of voters must approve it for it to go into effect. Alex.
All right, Becca, thank you. Of course, we'll be following that very closely. Right after the break, changes coming for California's mental health diversion program, why opponents say that it could do more harm than good. And from a motel to a new community, the South Sacramento development bringing affordable homes to families.
And those beautiful temperatures we felt today, well, they sadly can't last forever. Increasing temperatures are on the way, but how much will they increase? I'll have that coming up next.
But first, another headlines tonight. Numbers are in for illegal fireworks fines. Preliminary reports from Sacramento City Fire show about 70 citations were given out on July 4th, totaling at least $300,000 in fines. One home in North Sacramento is expected to receive at least $100,000 in fines due to the number of devices. All were captured by drone footage.
It's not supposed to happen. Columns are not supposed to bend like that.
A high-rise building under construction in Manhattan remained at risk of collapse today after two of its support columns buckled. Nearby businesses were evacuated and nearby streets were closed. The skyrise is a commercial office building that's being converted into a residential property. And Russia is closer toward having a full Olympic team with its national flag and anthem at the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics. The International Olympic Committee provisionally lifted a suspension of the Russian Olympic Committee. The IOC now advises Olympic sports bodies to end a 3-year program vetting Russian athletes in individual sports for neutral status. All right, it was beautiful outside today, sitting at about 80 degrees, but Peter, things are definitely changing in the forecast. We're going to be warming up. Summer's officially here. What are we looking at?
Well, nothing like this, right? I mean, I wish we could have this every day. I really do. And I wish I could do everything in my power to make that happen. But sadly, these low 80s probably won't happen for a while. We're talking about mid to upper 90s here as we get into the days ahead. Yeah, so make sure you enjoy the rest of this evening. We are still seeing plenty of cool temperatures here throughout the area as we reach the 7 o'clock hour. 79 here in Sacramento, 77 in Tahoe. It's warmer in Truckee than it is here in Sacramento right now. Modesto's at 85, a little bit warmer further to the north though because less of a Delta influence. Orville at 90 degrees currently. As we get through the next couple of days, the warm-up's going to begin. The warmest day this week is going to be on Thursday, and that's this week. Then as we get towards next week, not only more of the heat, but some monsoonal moisture is going to be coming our way. But through your Friday, we're just going to be talking about low to mid to upper 90s, depending on where you are. Thursday, again, the hottest day, 96 here in Sacramento. Friday, still right on track for average. We start our first 93-degree average on Thursday, and that continues for the next month as well. So 93 on Friday as this high sets its way towards Southern California. That's what's going to allow all this heat to build as air sinks from that high. It's then going to shift its way back out to the east over Texas. And off that high, we're going to get that kind of monsoonal moisture. Some Gulf moisture is going to make its way here towards the region through Mexico, through Arizona, here towards Northern California. And that's what's going to be allowing for maybe the chance for some Sierra thunderstorms, but also the chance for some dry lightning and a kind of muggy feeling here. But you got to keep in mind, this is California muggy, not Illinois to Florida muggy that we're talking about. Overnight tonight, lows right around the low to mid 50s here in the valley and the high country right around the 40-degree mark. And tomorrow, that's when we start to feel those warmer temperatures. Low 90s across the board, mid to upper 90s further in the North Sacramento Valley. Saturday and Sunday looking pretty comfortable in the mountains. The hills, though, that's where you're going to start to see those 90s here in the forecast. And the coast, you even warm up there on Saturday and Sunday as well. And your 10-day here in Sacramento, 96, the warmest day this week. But as we start next week, it's near 100, Alex, but it's not at it like maybe some of the weather apps might be showing you.
Yes, I know. Brendan and I were talking about that before, that I saw 100 degrees on the Apple weather app, but
I got 104 on mine.
104. Okay, I didn't get that much. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Peter, thank you so much. Right after the break, tensions rise with Iran as the U.S. launches new strikes while President Trump presses NATO allies on defense and support. And from public service to disaster response, tonight's milestone celebration for the California Conservation Corps. The U.S. military launched new strikes on Iran today. U.S. Central Command announced that the strikes are in retaliation for Iran attacking several commercial ships near the Strait of Hormuz. CENTCOM went on to say Iran's demonstrated aggression was unwarranted, dangerous, and a violation of the ceasefire the two countries agreed to 2 weeks ago. The U.S. also reimposed economic sanctions against Iran because of Iran's actions. As President Trump attends a high-stakes NATO summit in Turkey tonight, the president has floated the idea of the U.S. leaving NATO, something he could not do unilaterally. The president also put pressure on NATO allies to join the U.S. in its war against Iran, framing it as a test of their loyalty. But they didn't budge. The big priorities for President Trump at this summit is measuring the progress of NATO countries committing to increasing their defense spending and pushing for Europe to take the lead in the NATO alliance. Tonight, changes are coming to California's mental health diversion program. Now, this program began back in 2018, and there's been a strong push in the legislature to narrow down who is eligible for it. ABC 10 political reporter Jenny Hubb breaks down the years-long debate on incarceration versus treatment.
We believe that the mental health diversion program is a good program, but it needs to be good for the right individual.
Democratic Assemblymember Stephanie Wynn has been pushing for an update to the mental health diversion program. Wynn and public safety advocates say currently judges are not given enough authority to deny diversion even when the defendants should not be eligible.
As originally written, the law stripped judges of sound discretion, created dangerous loopholes in accountability, invited manipulation by those seeking to game the system.
Wynn's Assembly Bill 46, signed into law by the governor, seeks to change that.
Judges now have the ability to be judges and correctly judge if someone is truly a legitimate candidate.
California's mental health diversion program allows those with qualifying mental health disorders to receive treatment instead of having to serve time. Upon completion of treatment, the charges are typically dismissed and records wiped clean.
It's the public's safety, right? It's the community safety that is at risk here, and I think everybody understood that. But also preserving the mental health diversion program was important as well.
But opponents say the bill will likely deny treatment for those who need it, ultimately reducing public safety.
People funneled into jail rather than into treatment have higher rates of recidivism. They don't get the treatment they need to get people housing and treatment. And that's true crime prevention.
Meantime, there's another diversion reform being pushed by Republican State Senator Shannon Grove. Wynn and the district attorney say they support this bill too. It seeks to mandate evidentiary hearings when diversion is being considered. Though Grove wanted to add more exclusions like human trafficking and child abuse, she says she had to heavily amend the bill for it to pass the Assembly Public Safety Committee.
I find it difficult to understand why it's so hard to protect victims and women and children in this state.
We spoke to a former state senator, one of the creators of the diversion program. He emphasizes the goal was to reduce crime and state prison population.
If we did treat a large number of people through the court system, where they could be identified as needing treatment, it would reduce recidivism and reduce crime.
The senator says it was not intended for violent offenders and that he supports both Grove and Wynn's reforms.
And if you commit those kinds of crime, you're more than welcome to stay there for the rest of your life.
Jenny Hutt, ABC 10.
Wynn's bill will take effect at the start of next year. Grove's bill will continue to move through the legislative process. And a California father who tried to kill his family had charges dropped after he completed a 2-year mental health diversion program. Prosecutors charged Dharmesh Patel with attempted murder after he drove his Tesla off a 250-foot cliff along Pacific Coast Highway. Patel, his wife, and 2 young children survived. A different judge ruled Patel would receive mental health treatment instead of standing trial after his defense attorneys argued that he was going through episodic major depression with hallucinations. Prosecutors opposed the diversion for Patel, arguing attempted murder should be excluded from eligibility for mental health diversion. A new affordable housing community is now open in Sacramento. A celebration and a ribbon cutting were held this morning for the San Juan Apartments in South Sacramento. The development is bringing 113 new affordable homes to the community. The apartments were created by converting a former motel along Stockton Boulevard. They are designed for families earning between 30% and 60% of the area median income.
It's all low-income housing here, but the important thing is that it's mixed with services to help people get a leg up, and so that young people also have a safe place. It's where it's walkable, there's a close grocery store. More importantly, it's next to transit, so they can get to work and school without having to own a car.
The housing complex also includes a children's playground, pool, and other community amenities. After the break, the California Conservation Corps celebrates a golden milestone. We'll take you inside the anniversary celebration. All right, before we go here, just want to say happy anniversary to the California Conservation Corps. The program is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. A sold-out golden anniversary reception is happening right now at the California Museum. You can see right there, alumni, conservation leaders, and elected officials are celebrating 5 decades of environmental stewardship, workforce development, and public service. Former Governor Jerry Brown signed the legislation creating the CCC back in 1976. He is giving tonight's keynote address. We will have much more on this coming up on Late News tonight at 11. As always, thank you so much for watching, for always inviting us into your home. You already know if you have something that you think the team and I should be looking into, you can always email us at tothepoint@abc10.com. I hope you have a great night. And don't forget, To The Point does not end here. If you do want to download our free ABC 10 app, you can catch up on all the news that you need to know. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.